Hashtag replay, so I know you were here. I'm going to go over some mind blowing information, especially been struggling with hormone imbalance today, and can't wait to share with you what we found out. But hello. Hey, question for you all. Have you or is someone you know ever struggled with estrogen or testosterone imbalance? Symptoms of these would be things like low libido. Maybe it's harder to recover from the gym. Maybe your energy's super low. Maybe for estrogen, for women, there's hormonal and cycle imbalances. There's pains, or there's just issues that happen, whether it's perimenopause and menopause, and there's a lot of amplified issues and symptoms. Well, today I want to share with you something that was mind blowing to me as someone that's been in the wellness space for 16 years. I just recently learned something that just clicked for me on why this might be happening in such crazy rates now and things that we can do naturally and holistically to actually overcome that as well. So if that sounds interesting to you, be sure to share this, by the way, tag someone into this, and it's going to be very helpful. For those that don't know me, my name is James Ng. Originally, I was intending on being a medical doctor. I went to UC Berkeley. I thought I wanted to help heal people. And then I started to realize that while medicine's important and we love our doctors, I started to think, what if there's ways to naturally heal? What if there's ways to actually equip our bodies with their own God given healing potential to actually do what it needs to do? So then I went into the hormone balance and the wellness space. And for the last 16 years, we've been devoted there. We've helped thousands of clients all around the world balance their bodies, double their weight loss, and do a lot of other cool things too. And I'm always looking for reasons and understanding why things happen, right? I think as a consumer, as a human being, as somebody that wants to protect your most important asset, your health, I think it's important we're informed, right? Don't take my word for it. Don't take someone else's word for it. Go do your own due diligence. So I was recently sitting in a convention, and up front row, I was talking with someone that was a Harvard trained scientist. And, I always expect to learn something, but the gentleman wrote something on the board, Dr. Josh Plant, shout out to him, that blew my mind. And I honestly don't know if anyone else caught it. But when I saw it, and it's what I have on the board here, it transformed everything in my paradigm. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, people need to know about this, which is why I want to share it with you. All right. So, how does this work? Well, hormones. There's over 50 hormones in the body, but when we think hormones, most of the time we just think about the sex hormones, right? You think about testosterone, you think about estrogen. Maybe there's some others, right? By the way, if I say the word hormone, put in the comments what's a top hormone that you can think about. But what happens is this is we want to help support these. So a lot of people will try to do hormone replacement therapy. They'll take injections. And I'm not knocking on any of these things, right? To each their own, there's different ways to go about it. However, I'm of the notion that if there's a more holistic approach that's more natural, that's perhaps even cheaper, why not go that route first to consider? I wonder if you would agree with me on that or not. So behind me, I'm going to draw on this whiteboard how the hormone pathways work, and I hope it clicks for you. We're going to go a little bit sciencey, a little biology, so I hope you don't unplug from this. Okay. So hormones are fascinating. Hormones are chemical messengers in your body, and they tell your bodies to go do different things, right? So let's start with where the hormones that we are interested in. So on the bottom here, you have estrogen. Estrogen is not a female hormone, but estrogen does certain things that promote a lot of the female reproductive system. Men have estrogen too. It's just that women have more estrogen than testosterone. So you have both, right? But estrogen, let's look. So we want to see how do we balance estrogen. Okay. On the other side, there's another hormone, sex hormone, that is testosterone. So just because I don't have space, I'm just going to abbreviate this test. No, that's testosterone. Okay. And what ends up happening is as we go through life, maybe hit your 30s, and one day you wake up and you're like, man, I just feel not the same. Women, I work with women especially now. Um, they talk about hitting perimenopause earlier and earlier. They talk about hot flashes. They talk about night sweats. They talk about needing to go on hormone replacement therapy or considering those types of things. They say, my hormones are imbalanced. So, what happens is we wake up one day and we see that we have lower estrogen and also we have lower testosterone. Women need testosterone too, but a lot of men as well. They start considering things like testosterone boosters, TRT, a lot of different things, right? But the question is, why do these drop? Is it just because we get older? Now, obviously, with anything, the older someone gets, the more of a decline there is in the world. But is it normal that for women that women are hitting perimenopause earlier and earlier? Is it normal that we're having all these different types of symptoms? Or could it be that there's other factors that are impacting it? Okay. So this is what I saw when I went to this convention. So estrogen and testosterone what we're looking at. But there's a precursor that comes before estrogen and testosterone. And I wonder if you can guess, what is this P? There's another hormone. It's kind of like a pre-hormone to this. And for anybody that's probably been looking for fertility things, like me and my wife were not long ago, you might know that there's a hormone called progesterone. Yeah. So progester. All right, progesterone. I know that when we were struggling with infertility, we would take, we've tried everything, right? Progesterone pills, progesterone essential oils, just things to boost up progesterone. Because if you have more progesterone, it means that you should have more balance with the sex hormones as well, too, which is kind of true, right? Because it's upstream. It's like if you want to build muscle in your body, you need to have protein, the building blocks of muscle. So similar to estrogen or testosterone, we want to have progesterone up there as well too. But the part that floored me was not this part. The part that floored me was this other part. You see, progesterone, dependent on the circumstances in the body, will convert to either one of the sex hormones or something else. And the or something else is super important to understand. So, question, what do you think the C is? What do you think the C is? The C is cortisol. Cortisol, more commonly known as the stress hormone. Right? Cortisol is important. Cortisol is also known as a master hormone that's in the body because when cortisol is affected, it impacts all the other hormones in the body directly. So, cortisol, look at this pathway, how it works. Progesterone will either become cortisol or progesterone will become one of the sex hormones. So if estrogen and testosterone are down, you know what's likely to also be happening. It's not the only contributor, but one of the contributors is if you have increased cortisol, it means that you're depleting progesterone, which means that you're depleting the amount of estrogen and testosterone that you can make. So life gets stressful, right? You start having a family, you're worrying about the bills. We are constantly bombarded by stressors every day from these things called cellular phones. We have so many inputs in our body every day that we're trying to deal with. You wake up and there's like flooded with emails. And all these little things are micro stressors or even big stressors, or you get in a fight with your spouse. And all of a sudden, your cortisol spikes and it stays elevated. It's okay to spike every now and then. Cortisol and hormone levels are going to go up and down. But what's an issue right now is chronic stress. When your cortisol levels are chronically high, that will lead into depletion of progesterone because that's what it needs to convert, which will then lead into a lesser of a pool to make into estrogen and testosterone. Does this make sense? Now, I don't know if you found that mind, but that's huge for me. What does that mean? I knew kind of that if you're stressed, it affects your hormones. Like I hear these things. I don't know if you do. But until I saw this hormonal pathway and I saw, wow, biologically, physiologically, this is literally how it works. A light bulb went off to me because instead of, if you have a hormonal imbalance issue with the sex hormones, instead of going right to the doctor as a first step and considering hormone replacement therapy as a first step, which I'm mindful of, anything that is extra hormone you put into your body can do something, right? It's not necessarily good or bad, but it can do something. It's more, I would say it's more of a high intensity part onto your system. But why not consider going to the root of the issue and seeing if we can solve that root and then actually get a better result? So before you consider something else, why not consider what are ways to lower cortisol? What are ways to get into a lower cortisol lifestyle? There's many different things we could do. Stress really is the enemy. It reminds me, as we were going through our infertility journey, we tried everything under the sun before any single type of medical intervention. We tried our best, right? And when we went to an acupuncture, a fertility acupuncturist. She was this really cool Taiwanese lady, old school Chinese herbs, like you could tell. It smells like herbs when you go into there. And she could speak English, but it's like, Chinese thick accent. She would always say, stress is the enemy to fertility. Stress is the enemy to, honestly, most things in life, right? Bad stress. And it makes sense now. Maybe she didn't know the pathway, but experientially, that's exactly what it is. So let's find ways to actually support and lower cortisol levels. Meditation, prayer, right? Being able to navigate to your life and look at the things that stress you out. There's also ingredients and supplements and things that you can eat to actually help support your cortisol levels as well too. Okay. For sake of example, adaptogenic herbs are a really powerful way, right? Things like ashwagandha, rhodiola. There's some powerful adaptogens or adaptogenic herbs are named that way because they adapt to the environment. So ashwagandha, for example, interesting story. I believe it was World War II. They gave some soldiers a test, and they gave to one group of the soldiers ashwagandha, right, an herb, and they did some surveys, did some tests, and what they found is the group that had ashwagandha, the adaptogenic herb, was able to endure longer term stress levels, right, during wartime and stuff, compared to the group that did not have ashwagandha. So adaptogens adapt to the environment that your body is in and what it needs to do. So you can find some really cool adaptogenic herbs. That's also why if you followed us, we promote and we talk about these body balancing drops. When we talk about body balancing, it balances four hormones, one of which includes cortisol. And one of the main ingredients in the second bottle is actually adaptogenic herbs, a couple of them, right? But there's many different ways that you can do that. But what's the goal? Find ways to support better balance of cortisol. When that gets balanced, it means that you're taking less from the pool of progesterone, which means that you have more in the pool of estrogen and testosterone. And I'll just share this as an experience. I'm not making any product claims. I'm not a doctor. I was intending on being, but I wanted to go the holistic route. But I am fascinated by science. I'm fascinated by how the human body works. This is what I've seen through working with clients now for over, gosh, 13 years on the body balancing program. I have seen so many women that were on hormone replacement therapy. They had horrible, irregular cycles. My own wife, she had painful cycles. And they would regularly say, James, I know these drops don't target the sex hormones, which they don't, but for whatever reason, I'm feeling better. My wife's menstrual pains went away. I would hear even stories. This kind of freaks some people out sometimes. Women, I don't know how you feel about this. I'd even hear stories of women that have gone through menopause. They stopped their periods, they stopped their cycles. And all of a sudden they're reporting, James, I don't know if I should say this or not. I don't know. Is this normal? I'm having periods again. And I'm just like, wow, that's crazy. That's crazy. I wouldn't consider that a bad thing. Like that's a good thing that the body's getting supported and it's getting healthy again, right? But this is huge. Oh, one last thing. I have seen experientially. We do know that you do need proper progesterone and estrogen testosterone levels for fertility. Could it be that high cortisol is impacting fertility rates too? My own wife and I told you, went through a fertility journey. And guess what? That for 5 years, we tried everything under the sun. Ironically, we didn't try the drops until last moment. But it happened to be that last month we gave up. That's a part of it. Maybe we surrendered, right? But it happened to be that my wife hopped on the body balancing drops. And that the end of that month, we had a lot of prayer, a lot of different factors, right? But she conceived. And I've heard this story now multiple times with people that struggle with infertility for whatever reason. When they hopped on the program, and I think it's specifically because of balancing cortisol, that they noticed that their fertility was better. Okay. Once again, I'm not making a medical claim. I'm just sharing with you experiences and things that I've seen, but I wanted to be able to put together a reason why. And it wasn't until I saw Dr. Plant, I was sitting there front row at a convention, and he drew something like this on the board. And I realized there's a direct correlation between progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, cortisol. And that if you support and balance your cortisol, it'll help you with better progesterone, estrogen, testosterone levels. I'm like, aha, that makes more sense. Okay. Now, I'm curious your thoughts on this. By the way, if my science is off, please tell me. I don't want to make wrong information here. But this is the pathway of how hormones are. And it's the implication that I'm getting from it that makes sense in my mind, and it backs up the things that I've been seeing happening, especially for those that have been on the body balance program. I know. So, if that's something you're looking into, by the way, get back to whoever connected you with this. We love to help you on these body balancing program. Otherwise, I'd love to hear just any thoughts that you have on this as well too. Last message is this: if you're considering some type of health change, and you might be in a place that a lot of our clients find them, and they're desperate for something, right? My encouragement to you is ultimately you are in full autonomy of your body and what you decide. Go do your own due diligence, go get your own informed consent, and don't take anyone's word for anything. But make sure that you come to a conclusion that you feel informed and at peace about. And as long as you're going in that direction, then you can take full responsibility for that and accountability, and you'll have more control about your health journey specifically as well too. Let's just not blindly take anyone's information, including my own. Okay. So poke holes at it, doubt it, but be an open-minded skeptic and then consider, could some of these things make sense? All right. On that, hope that was helpful. If it was, share this, and can't wait to chat with you some more. All right.